Good morning. I believe we're live. Let's go take a look. Are we on Twitter? And good morning to everybody. We are starting half an hour before the hearing starts. The inquiry starts. Oh, yeah, we're on Twitter. Go ahead and make sure YouTube is good. Someone can put a chat in if they're on YouTube. I'll know we're good there. Looks good. Live viewers. Yeah, we got a viewer. All right. Well, good morning. If you're following us for the first time, my name is Jason Lavigne. I am an independent politician and journalist who is following the inquiry. I am very interested in seeing what information comes out during this inquiry. And it's going to be on for the next approximately 6 weeks, basically all day. So it's going to be a big one for us. I believe I have an echo. So let me see if it's Chicken Lady. All right. So this morning, I am preparing for our witness list. And on our witness list is one person who I'm not sure how to pronounce the name of. So I asked Google. So let's learn together.
Zexi Lee. Zexi Lee.
Zexi Lee. And thanks for slowing it down the second time, Google. Zexi Lee. All right. So well, good morning, Chicken Lady. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, I'm Chicken Lady. Looking forward to day 2 of the inquiry. Day 1, from what I saw, was interesting on the conflicting information coming out from different witnesses. And yeah, today I'm curious to see what comes out as well.
Yeah, so today we're starting with witnesses. Yesterday it was a lot of groundwork, some of the rules, what we could be expecting the hearing to be like. And as we found out yesterday, this is not a trial. This is not like court. Don't expect Matlock to show up. And what we're going to be doing here is we're trying to get information out through witnesses and documents and summaries and reports. You're going to have a decision or mainly recommendations come out of the inquiry, not prosecutions or anything like that. And today, we're going to be hearing from the first witnesses. And according to the list, we should be expecting probably all 6 of these. This first person is the lawyer representing residents of Ottawa who were upset. And specifically, the lawyer represents Zexi Lee, who was a resident who brought the injunction forward to stop all the noise along with other stuff. So we'll be hearing from the residents of Ottawa first, it appears, followed by 2 people from the Business Improvement Association in Ottawa. So different parts of Ottawa, but they both represent it. And what we're also going to hear from a couple members of the City of Ottawa as well. So what I anticipate we're going to see today is the groundwork for the reason why, from the government's perspective, they needed to execute and invoke the Emergencies Act. And it looks like the groundwork is going to be based around impact on residents and businesses. So I'm interested in seeing where this goes. We know that Zexi was successful in receiving part of the injunction, which was specifically for a certain type of horn and during a certain period of time. That was a requirement from the judge, an order from the judge, and I believe it was honored. I believe from that point on, that horn was not used. So I'm curious what testimony we're going to hear from Zexi today. And back to the businesses. So there's 2 BIA members. As we recall, there was a lot going on in February. There were lockdowns, there were orders, there were requirements for vaccination to enter businesses, and there were a lot of reasons why business was having trouble. So I suspect we're going to hear a lot from Kevin and Natalie on this, and maybe some clarification on how specifically the protest itself was impacting the businesses, and maybe show some examples of why it was necessary to close because of the protest. From a lot of video that we've seen, which is mainly just online streamers, because it's not very much available elsewhere, it didn't look like there were purposes to close down. So maybe this will come to light today. maybe Natalie and Kevin have some new information for us, maybe some videos, some testimony, something that indicates that the protest itself was impacting the businesses and the purpose for them closing down. And then 2 people from the city of Ottawa. To get ready for the upcoming witnesses, we do have quite the list here. And I'm going to quickly go through it. I'm not going to stop on too many, but I'm just giving people a heads up that this is going to be 6 weeks worth of interesting testimony. So right now it's a preliminary list, because it can change. So somebody can not show up. They may have to add somebody based on previous witness testimony. They may add or remove. But currently we have quite a few people from the city of Ottawa scheduled to come, including the Ottawa Police Services, the Ontario Provincial Police, quite a few from the OPP and Ontario Police Services. So I suspect they're going to be laying down the groundwork on how it was being handled by the police services, what they needed from the Emergencies Act, if anything, and probably clarify a lot more around the concerns about violence and whether or not there was some, or if it was brewing. We're going to get more clarification, I'm sure. And we have several of them, including Peter Slotley, who was the chief at the time that the protest started. So he's not listed as Ontario Police Services. I guess it's because he's retired, but that is the chief that was in charge at the time. We are clearly going to be hearing from some convoy related, Patrick King, Tom Mazzaro, Chris Barber, Tamara Lynch. It'll be interesting to see from their perspective as people who were directly related with the convoy organizing and leadership, and who were also impacted by the consequences of the Emergency Act. We're going to hear from the city of Windsor, more police services likely related to the Windsor incident, not so much the Ottawa one. Coots. So Jim will be speaking from the village of Coots. And we got Ottawa, Ontario, public safety. And as we go through here, you're going to see a lot more RCMP now, and intelligence and government services, federal, and quite a few. Privy Council, for those that don't know, this is basically where private conversations can happen, and the government is privy to the information, but not necessarily the public. So they may be talking about what they can and can't release. And of course, we have our Prime Minister. He'll be taking and become a witness. I don't want to call it a stand. I think it's more of a chair, but he will be a witness, and we'll be closing with Chrystia Freeland. So from the witness list, what it looks like to me is they're going to establish that the residents were frustrated, the businesses were impacted. The 3 events, Ottawa, Coots, and Windsor, impacted Canada to the point where they were very concerned. And it looks like they're going to establish probably international and national trade, finance was a concern, a major concern. This would likely be the only way they could justify the Emergency Act, by saying somehow economically we were going to be impacted beyond repair. So it would be very interesting to see what every single one of these witnesses have to say. Okay, so I'd also like to update everybody on yesterday. I got all your comments. I will not be speaking over testimony or anything like that. Thank you very much. I will shut up. I've also worked out, I believe, the audio issues. So even though the stream we're receiving had audio issues yesterday, I have done some of my tech things, and I think I might be able to help you out with that and make it a lot clearer. And would love all your comments. And if anybody wants to be on this stream, just hit me up with a DM or a message of any kind through LinkedIn or Twitter, or post a comment in YouTube. And if I catch it, I'll reach out to you and I'll send you the link. We are streaming on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Some of the information that was classed as privy at the time, is
Yes.
that going to be released publicly, or could that still be something where they shut off the cameras to the public, that we still don't actually access that information?
Great question. So the justice told us yesterday that yes, there's going to be some closed door conversations and hearings. They are going to be some private conversations, and they're likely all going to be around national security concerns and issues that would expose the government some way that's negative to our national interests. That happens all the time, and of course it will happen with the government. They use intelligence agencies, and this is how they get their information. But what I'm hoping is we're not kept out of the dark on really important elements that make it clear that the government had a clear understanding of why they were doing what they were doing. So, for example, what we shouldn't end up with is evidence, secret evidence A is the reason, and we're never going to know about it. What we should find out is a lot more details about the evidence, but without giving up possibly how they got the information or any other ways that would be a concern for the intelligence where it came from. Now, we are supposed to be dealing with largely a national issue, but I do know that foreign influence was a concern and something that came up a lot on whether or not it was being funded by the foreign interests or things like that. So I do suspect we're going to hear from at least how internationally Canada was concerned about what may or may not happen. Well, more what may happen. Because they do have to establish a violent reason for invoking the Emergency Act. So I suspect we'll hear a lot of that. But there will be secret stuff. We were already told yesterday there will be some closed door conversations.
I wonder if Justin Trudeau will be behind closed doors, or whether or not it will be public facing.
No, he'll be testifying. Yeah, we will hear from him. What I don't know is whether or not it will just be a prepared statement, whether it's just going to be he'll come out and give his prepared statement, or is there going to be some sort of cross where some of the standing parties are able to ask questions. So what I want to kind of clarify is I don't know how each witness will be handled. We'll find that out today because there's so many interested parties with standing that I don't know if it's going to be each party gets to cross or if they have to kind of ask ahead of time whether or not they can cross, or crossing is even part of the process. We're about to find out.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, whether or not it's just a presentation of this is my information, now they go and that's it, or whether or not, yes, there is going to be a back and forth with the other side.
Yeah, I know the justice is going to be asking questions. So all the time, I know the justice is supposed to inquire, find out more information. But I don't know if the other standing parties, representatives or lawyers will be. But we're going to find out. So today is our first witness. So we'll see how it's handled. If it's handled with just a presentation and they have a representative, and then that's that, and then the justice can ask questions and take notes, we'll find out. But I'm really hoping that there is at least some sort of cross, because that's really the only way we're going to pull out inconsistencies, fill in the holes, we really start to explain things on both sides. Because right now, the purpose of this is not to take a side. The purpose of this is to listen to both sides with an open mind and trying to understand the perspective of both sides. We certainly have a city that felt like it was in chaos. I don't think many people will deny that. We also have a side that felt like the chaos was necessary in order to be heard and provide their protest. The inquiry is going to determine whether or not that was a legal protest. If it turns out that after the inquiry, the government's position is upheld, that was a legal or that was no longer a legal protest, it became a disturbance and it became an illegal occupation, well, then we now have the framework going forward on what protests we can and can't do. And at minimum, we should at least get that recommendation out of this inquiry so that all Canadians going forward, government and the people, understand what the limits are, if any, on protesting.
So precedent is going to be set.
For sure. Either one way or the other. It's either going to be the government is completely cleared, everything they did was fantastic, they can do it again tomorrow. Or it could be The protesters were in the clear. They never did anything wrong. They completely had their rights violated along the way. Or just something down the middle where it says, it was a bad situation, and going forward, here are some recommendations for the limits. Police should always engage. They shouldn't be caught off guard. Government should always have a liaison and have a conversation with whatever side is at the table. And then maybe for the protester side, once the government has established that they can't communicate any further, in other words, your demands can't be met, then there's some sort of limit at that point where it's now an occupation, because the protest, it can't be achieved. But you can't reach that point from the government's perspective without the conversation, negotiation, at least some sort of bureaucracy to talk to them. I think what we're going to find out is that's what happened here. The government reached the conclusion that there was nothing to talk about. The mandate staying in, no exception for the truckers, and there was nothing to talk about. And because they felt like there was nothing to talk about, then they felt like this was no longer a protest, because in the government's mind, the protest needs to have a mission and something to achieve, possibly. And if there was, in the government's mind, nothing to change, well, then there's no purpose or mission, possibly. And if that's the case, if the government reaches a position where there's nothing to negotiate, well, let's just think about that for a second. How would we want to respond as the citizens of Canada if there was a protest where it wasn't something Canada was willing or able to do? What do? Are we just going to let them occupy until one side just gives in? Or does our government really actually have a duty to put a foot down at some point? I don't agree that they put the foot down at the right time, and I also don't agree that there are elements to do it this time around were there. But this inquiry might settle that issue going forward. For example, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, because it just seemed from, again, just being the voyeur on watching it on TV, but primarily on YouTube, seeing the YouTubers on the ground, and just hearing the information, it didn't appear that even from the beginning and even from when the time they left, there was any negotiations with the government. Their stance from the moment they arrived was always, no, we're not communicating with them. And whatever press conferences were that some of the representatives of the truckers presented, it was a case of, look, we're here, we're happy to communicate. No one's spoken to us. We haven't spoken to anyone from the government.
Well, see, we're going to find that out, though. I just want to.
Well, that's exactly. We will find out if truly there was any, backroom conversations, or was it a case of, no, the government from the beginning was, no, there's nothing to talk about here. And that went for
but what you're describing is the government talking. So saying there's nothing to talk about is conversation. We'll find out if even that happened.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, did the government just ignore them completely? Or did they respond with, there's nothing to talk about here? Because that would be a response. It may not be the response they're looking for. But
correct, exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to find out whether or not there was a response, or was it just a factor of some people, some MPs, some stuff went onto the press and just made statements, and that was, as far as the government was concerned, they're not going to communicate with them. Or did they actually communicate with them and say, hey, look, we think the vaccines are required, we think it's necessary, here's our science, there's nothing to talk about because we can't bend to pressure like this. So show up, go hang out for a bit, but don't make it too big of a headache. And maybe that's their perspective. Because I don't think City of Ottawa's purpose from day one was to end protest. It was to respond to what they believed was a large protest. And maybe a lot of confusion on, were ambulances going to get through? Were the residents going to be impacted? Some closed. It's a big deal when businesses don't feel safe and residents don't feel safe. How long should that go for? So I'm thinking we're going to hear a lot of that actually today, as they establish that.
Well, certainly from the BIA members and the resident and the representative for the resident, or the residents, I should say. So yeah, we could find out their statement. But like what you guys discussed yesterday, you and Wayne, like, will they be introducing some of the conflicting video footage that we have of saying, you know, oh, yes, a lot of residents being impacted, but the flip side is no, everyone's walking through and everything's fine. I'm very curious on how video is going to play a role in evidence for both sides.
Well, I think the video has been played out already. So there was live streaming, hundreds of hours, many different streamers,
Right.
many different angles at many different times. There was also news crews, Fox, CBC, others were around capturing what they were capturing. So that video exists. And if there was video that showed a violent encounter or the police having to deal with stuff before they were moving in to clear everybody, we would have seen it. That would have been all we saw on loops for a long time, I believe, because that would have clearly and without question demonstrated the violence that was necessary for the Emergency Act. So I'm going to be very curious of any new video, because anything new that comes up, well, why is it new? Like, if it was something that would have shown the government's perspective back in February, we would have seen it. And if it's video that's from streamers, well, we've seen it already, so we know what it is. So maybe Canada will see it for the first time.
Yeah, I do wonder, those who solely watch their legacy media, will the YouTube video really be an eye-opener for them? Will it be like, oh, that's incredibly conflicting to what I was told, not necessarily what they saw? Because again, seeing anything truly negative or violent was minimal at best. So I'm very curious if it would be an eye-opener for some, if they had
maybe a few. If you're on the side of, you know, that the government did the right thing, you're not going to wait for a piece of video to change your mind, because you're going to assume that everything that they need to do isn't recorded. So requiring your government to show you a piece of video that shows some sort of violence in order to take action is not a necessary step. And I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think we should be expecting the government to be recording everything so that they can show it to us. So I don't know if you're going to get a lot of people that are going to change opinion based on what video is and isn't there. What we might get is, maybe we're going to get some of the video that didn't make it to mainstream. For example, the violence from the enforcement towards the people, because there's a lot of that. There was a lot of that video. Are we going to see that? That might change minds, because I don't think the government has video that's going to change minds to show their perspective, nor do they require it. But if the counter video does exist that shows, well, extreme violence, those are being recorded, but only from one direction, you know, the lack of any violence going the other way starts to become, I think, important, especially when the Emergency Act requires violence in order for it to be used as one of the elements for invoking.
Yes. Well, we'll see. It's very interesting on how, and when is it meant to conclude, the inquiry? November what?
I'm not sure. 6 weeks, but it could go longer and it can go shorter.
Okay.
But we should have the final report February 13th, 2023, which is 1 year from the invocation, which is, well, that's what the Act says, within a year.
It needs to be.
Correct. So we're going to get it. I don't know what day we'll get it, but at least by on or before the 13th of February. So that'll be interesting when that comes up. That's for sure. Let me go double check my Twitter. I've got a couple messages. We'll see if we have any guests that want to come. Yes, I'm interested. You send the link. Oh, we got one. Okay. So give me a moment, folks. We have somebody that would like to join the stream. And if there's anybody else watching, reminder, just send a comment, reach out to me somehow, email on my website or through a platform, and I'll send you a link. Okay. I'm not sure. It's a Twitter user, so we'll get to meet her.
Yep. Excuse me for a moment.
And to all my Twitter insiders, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. You keep me on my toes, and you don't let me forget that I can always improve. So thank you very much. I like that conversation. Okay. One more. Yeah. So I have one comment from Twitter. The judge or justice, he's a justice in this case, long-term donor to Liberal Party. Possibly, but I don't think that matters. I have a lot of faith in our justice system and the ability to stay impartial. All eyes are on him, and I'm sure there'll be challenges either way. No matter what he does, it's going to be imperfect in everybody's eyes. And that's kind of the perfect outcome, when everybody is a little bit frustrated, but they also feel like they got some answers. So don't expect him to come out on anybody's side full flag. He's going to be pretty impartial and frustrate and upset everybody. And quite frankly, that's what you want from an independent oversight and independent review. You want it to be nonpartisan, and you want it to be harsh and rough for everybody, because nobody's perfect. Everybody did something that they probably could have done differently, which would have de-escalated or addressed the situation differently, or not. We're going to find out. All right. And thank you very much to one of my insiders. I'm looking forward to it as well. I will try not to speak over them. All right. All right. So if we're starting on time, we're going to be in 3 minutes. So last chance to grab a cup of coffee. I got mine here. And any breaks before. I learned my lesson yesterday. I'm ready to go now. And YouTube and Facebook are the best places if you want to live chat with me. A live chat will come up on the screen so we can all discuss it. And all the other platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn and Rumble, they also have comments and chats, but they don't come into my my studio, so I don't see them right away. I'll do my best to check them, though, during times where I have a moment. So don't be shy to send your comments and your critiques. This is my second stream. I'm hopefully improving the video and the audio, and I'll try and make it an enjoyable experience by not talking over everybody. And if you give me 1 second, I'm going to try and re-add my video to a higher resolution. So I'll be right back. And I'm back. So it's too late to change it to 1080p. So we're going to be stuck at 720. Hey, thank you for that like. Appreciate that. And I got some viewers here on YouTube. And your critiques help too. So if the audio is not good, I need to turn myself up or down, please let me know, especially with the feed itself. The feed audio was bad yesterday for everybody. So I'm going to try and improve it today. But do let me know if it needs to go up or down. I will do my best. All right. So I'm going to put the audio on and see if we get a hot mic or something. See if there's any audio. Nope. They're pretty quiet. So we'll be ready to go in a second. Cannot find me on Rumble. All right. Let's take a quick look there. Rumble should be there. Nope. Look at that. Now, I am surprised at how many empty seats there are. If I was in the area, I would most certainly want to be there. This could be one of those moments in Canada that we all have to live with. All right. So we are live on Twitter. And let me go and find that Rumble link. Rumble. Watching now. There's an ad. Let me skip the ad. Nope, we're live on Rumble. We're good. Yep, there we are. So Rumble's good. I saw Twitter. Facebook I saw. All right. Yep, looks like we're live everywhere. Oh, here we go. Our first comment. Oh, Wayne, one of our good friends. He's over in the UK and he joined us yesterday. Okay, that's for our audio. Okay, so they're not feeding the audio yet. Refresh. All right. It's probably a very popular feed right now, that's for sure. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to kick in, I do have a backup ready. Well, are they having problems with their feed today? First thing in the morning? Okay. Just give me a second. I'll find a backup feed while we wait. This is live, guys, so this is what happens. They must have a lot of attention today, which is good. We want Canada to watch this. All right, so that stream's not working right now. He is talking. Let's try a lower stream. Sorry, everybody. We will get it going. This is a live event. Hey, Chicken Lady, do you mind looking on your end? See if that link is working. Let me just try reopening this browser.
Sorry, which link?
If you go to the actual public website for the inquiry, let me just try it again. Open a new browser. No, same thing. All right, Canada. Okay. Okay, so just bear with me, everybody. The stream was up. I was listening to their background noise earlier, and it was not interesting. All right, live. There we go, live. Try again. We can't even downgrade it. I think the video stopped because it's stuck on 13 seconds on their end. So there could be a feed problem. Yeah, it's stuck on 13 seconds. Even on a refresh. But the video is changing. Sorry, folks, give me another minute or two. I'm not going to give up. We're going to get this stream. Wow. I'm not finding it on YouTube either. Nobody has it right now. Live. Oh, We have one here. We do. Okay. Yep. Okay. Bear with me, folks. I have a stream that works. Here it comes. Okay. Here we go. We didn't miss anything. Thank you for staying with me. I appreciate that. CPAC has a stream, but the website, the official website, does not. All right. So that was a good start. I liked seeing the cross-exam. That was great.
While the witnesses leave, this may be a good moment to take the break, and we'll come back after the break. It will take 15 minutes, and when we come back, we'll proceed with the second panel.
Okay. So for everybody that wants to take a break, we top up your coffee. Now's a good time. But that was a good start. I am optimistic because we did get to cross. People did get a chance to talk. But a couple notes that I took here, and if you agree with me here, Wayne, I was a little surprised at the amount of leading questions. So they basically give the answer, and the question would be a leading question. So, for example, one point it was, the diesel smell was inside your unit, or did you smell it inside your unit? Those are leading questions, basically asking the witness to just give a yes or no. You're waving at me. I don't know if you can hear me. So, Wayne, I got your audio here. I don't know if you're muted on your side. Can you not hear me? Okay. Well, I'll keep going. Let's try and reattach you, Wayne, because right now I don't hear you. And we'll try and reattach you. But for everybody else listening, yeah, I was actually quite impressed with the amount of questions that were allowed. And let me just, maybe something's wrong with my audio. Yep, hear you fine. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Chicken Lady. And if you're available, you can come join too. So I didn't expect such leading questions, but they were consistent with that. Let me pull up my notes again too. There was a lot of hearsay, so I was a little surprised at. There was very little objections or none during the beginning of the testimony as it was being laid out. And there was a lot of hearsay where she was speculating and just talking about things and other people and what they said. Typically, that's not allowed for a witness in trials or hearings. Typically, that's not allowed. And at first, I was wondering whether or not there would be objections. Can you say objection hearsay, objection leading? And it wasn't until the cross started that we heard our first objection. So objections are allowed. I don't know why nobody was asking for an objection. Here comes Wayne. Oh, I hear audio now, Wayne.
Yeah, what happened to your audio, Jason?
I was told I'm fine. So maybe it was just your connection.
I'm saying because one minute you were okay because I heard you during the talk because you said something. But then ever since from that you're cut out. So
I don't know, mate.
that was very interesting.
Yeah. So what I was saying when you were gone, leading questions and hearsay were two things that came out very quickly, and a lack of objections during the initial testimony. But then we did get some objections during the cross. So objection is something that can happen here. So object hearsay. But there certainly wasn't any push on that. There was a lot of hearsay. I do want to let everybody know that there appears to be two streams, a high quality stream and a not high quality stream. The high quality stream has the evidence. So it's showing the evidence that they're talking about as they're talking about it. However, I'm not able to get into it. I can't get access. It seems to be overloaded. I'll try again, maybe just break. I can get in. Nope. So I'll keep trying throughout the day and get an early start on Monday. So I get one of the high quality streams.
Yeah. Just be interesting to see what they're actually talking about. We have photos, we have video.
Yeah, so she did say she took a lot of video and pictures, but she also talked about brown and yellow snow, and there was no pictures for that.
Yeah, but what happens when vehicles drive in snow? It goes brown.
Oh no, but the narrative on our side, because that was one of the narrative items, was the people were using the streets to relieve themselves all over the place, piles of it, but not a single picture, not even a little yellow snow. But that was part of the narrative. It came out very quickly. We should have seen some video or something, but no. And my other note is clearly speculation's allowed, so you can just say anything.
And they're
The app.
accepting it, weren't they?
Well, that'll be the interesting part. It's up to the justice to determine what he will believe. He's a trier of fact and a trier of law. So the trier of fact gets to decide what they want to believe based on what they heard. I personally thought a lot of the things that they were talking about was common downtown complaining. You know, I didn't hear much more than a couple sensitive people who certainly has real issues. I wouldn't diminish their testimony at all about the pain that they went through. But I certainly would encourage them to seek additional assistance, because it's not typical to be triggered for life over music now because you heard music overnight or the smell of diesel. But I'm not saying it can't happen. That totally is things that happen to real people.
Yeah, it's having an open mind. But when you start hearing things about phantom smells and sleeping in my car because it was more quieter than trying to sleep in your apartment. Really?
Yeah. And I didn't know that Zexi was a federal employee. She didn't want to talk about that at all.
And when she tried to bring it on her terms.
Yeah, and typically witnesses aren't supposed and typically they don't object to themselves or say, I don't see the relevance. It's not really up for a witness to determine what questions they want to answer typically. So I was pleased that the justice did ask her to complete the answer. So far, I'm also very happy with the justice. He seems to be fair so far. I haven't seen anything where it would indicate he's treating one side better than the other, except for the amount of speculation and hearsay that's being allowed. So I don't know if he's just disregarding it on his side, because he certainly can. But I'm not used to seeing that much, even in small claims court. There's not that much hearsay and speculation allowed. I do want to talk a little bit about Zexi Lee, though, because she sounds like a very strong woman who was a leader in an advocacy group and stand up and very, in fact, the type of Canadian we're all proud of. Young, very energetic, very passionate, living on her own, like all the things that we would ask for any young Canadian. Very proud of the person that she painted here. However, there's quite the contradiction to the timid, scared woman that was being described at the beginning. It didn't seem to match her personality, her actual actions and advocacy and work over the years before and after the events. And then the woman that she's describing during the 3 weeks. So there's, just in my opinion, just from observing the testimony, there seems to be two types of people we're meant to believe exist: a very strong advocacy type of person, and then a very meek, timid person who's triggered easily. I'm just going to put it out there that when you have contradictory behavior, typically, or a lot of the times, there's motive behind one of them. And I'm proud of the woman that she described as the advocate. Both of them, actually, both women were strong advocates within their life. So those women I'm very proud of, and I'm glad that they showed up today. I'm very perplexed about the timid, very easily triggered women that were also described. So I'm looking forward to the next testimonies. Oh, I got a message from you, Wayne. No sound, but I think we're good now. I think the sound is good.
Yeah, that's fine. That was before, yeah. I had to reboot it because I was trying to sign into the other comments, but for some reason, when I rebooted it, it still didn't do anything. So I can't sign in and conversations, on the right side of the panel.
I lost power.
Mhm.
All right, you there, Wayne?
Yeah. Did you have some issues?
Okay, hold on a second. Yeah, we lost power for a second there.
Oh. Would you have a backup generator then? Yeah.
Yep. Can you hear it?
I did. I thought I heard you starting it, but yeah, other than that, you can't hear it now.
Yeah. No. Welcome to Off-Grid Living Solar. Where's my screen? Yeah. No, we're back.
So how do you primarily power yourself then? Is it by generator all the time?
No, battery and sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I turned on the heaters early this morning too because I was up at 3:30 getting everything ready. So I used a little bit more energy than I normally do. And it caught up to me, but that's okay. Yeah. Hold on a second. I think I have some visitors. All right, I'm back. And my son just showed up. JJ, come on in. Everybody, that's JJ, my oldest. And he wanted to come say hi. Come closer.
I can't get my wave on camera.
There you go.
How you doing?
And he can't hear you. Here we go.
Oh.
How you
There you
doing?
go,
All right.
Wayne.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Excellent.
Wait, we had to turn the generator on, keep the power going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The sun's coming up, so we'll be off of that soon.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks for your visit. You want to grab me coffee?
I'm sure.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Switching flex off the main power button.
Don't touch it. Yeah. Okay. So let's make sure. Oh, sorry about the noise.
I'll have a milky, no sugar.
Sorry, bud?
I'll have a milky coffee, no sugar.
Yes. No tea for you. Here, I lost my power there. Okay. Just 1 second, Wayne.
No problem.
Power there. So. All right. We're back in business. We got all our power back. JJ, nice to meet you. Well, thank you, Peter. JJ was here to say thank you. An Irish coffee for Peter. All right. No. Oh, I get it. Yeah. All right. Let's make sure we're still good here.
Did you catch any of that link I sent you from the COVID-19 committee inquiry?
I have not yet. Sorry, we're pretty busy
No.
getting ready. But
I
go ahead and
wouldn't-
talk about it.
I wouldn't really bother because I finally did give a listen to it, and it sets out a schedule. They put up a front page, actually, the whole plan of the different modules that we're going to use to discuss it. And they're not actually looking to speak again until January.
Wow. So why are they
It's a very
postponing?
different sort of committee inquiry to this. I don't quite understand it. It's more to do with people who've been injured, who've lost loved ones. They've got court-appointed lawyers who actually are part of this inquiry. There is an Emergency Act inquiry happening at some point somewhere, because I've heard people talking about it. But as to any information about it, I can't see anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, keep me posted on that one. I haven't been paying attention. And what are you hoping to get out of that inquiry? What are the people hoping to hear or at least settle?
I think what you actually really want is like these truths that was released by that Rob Roos, that Dutch MEP,
Okay.
in court a couple of days ago about the Pfizer boss accepting there was no evidence or proofs of actual efficiency of the vaccines.
Well, there we go. So we have an hour break for lunch, and we got through the first 4 witnesses, residents of Ottawa and BIA members. I'm trying to get a BIA member online as well to join us, talk about what BIA does, how you become part of it, and really what their function is in the community and the neighborhood. Check. We got a comment here from Adam. I wonder if there's food trucks outside. Oh, for the conference. Well, they're downtown Ottawa. They better have permits. Better check those permits. Wayne, how was that for you? The first round of witnesses. Oh, there we go. My bad.
No, very interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know who that was.
Okay, no, sorry, I fixed it. There you go.
Yeah, no, it was pretty good. Much better than yesterday, wasn't it? Because yesterday was very dry and sound and all sorts of issues. But yeah, the fact that we got freedom lawyers challenging everything, brilliant. There's still too much leading going on, so you don't get
Hello.
too much enough truth going on. They can lie repeatedly or as much as they want, and they're led to lie even further.
Yeah, I found there's a lot of leading there. And what was the most disturbing part about the residents' testimony? Or not disturbing, what was the most important part for you about the residents' testimony? Maybe we'll go with Chicken Lady. First of all, let's introduce yourself. Who are you? You're not a chicken or a lady. Well, you are a lady,
Yeah.
but right. But can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Paula. I do raise chickens though. And I actually used to be on the BIA board in Clarkson, Mississauga in Ontario. So
What was your role with the BIA?
I was the secretary for a few years. I think at least 4 years I was on the board. And as part of that, we helped create some of the special events that Clarkson tend to hold throughout the year, Christmas in Clarkson, Halloween in Clarkson. And it's just basically coordinating with the local businesses who are part of the BIA to hold some special events and coordinate things and arrange things. And like they mentioned, sometimes there's permits involved and working with the local police and things like that, cordon off the road, and just put on events for the businesses in conjunction with the community and local residents, is build a working relationship.
So when you're joining the BIA board, is this a neighborhood elected position? Or are people running for leadership? How do you actually get involved with the BIA?
Yeah, you throw your hat in the ring with the existing board. Say you'd like to be a member, and it could even be just working on subcommittees as well. But as time goes on and you build your relationship with the board, and then if the position comes up, yeah, you put your hat in the ring and you say, look, these are my experiences and this is what I can contribute, and you can then get elected for it. So it's something
So it
within the
isn't
board itself.
okay. Is the community doesn't do the election? It's the board that does the election.
No, not that I recall, and at least for Clarkson BIA, that was the way it was run.
So the members would vote.
Yes.
Okay. And when it came to the economic development of the businesses and the impact for things like, let's say, riots or protests or something going on, what impact did the BIA have for you? For example, you guys would close down the street and do your event.
Yes.
So you would have a liaison with the police and you would get the permits to close it down.
Yep.
What's your experience when it comes to if there is trouble and you have to reach out to the police? Is it normally an easy thing for you to do? Do you have someone to contact, or is it you call 911? What is the relationship between the BIA and police during the events?
When there are special events, then yeah, there would be a liaison. Like, for example, a few years ago now, Clarkson celebrated its 200-year anniversary. So that was a large event, typically much larger than Halloween in Clarkson and things like that. So that was coordinated well again with the police. There was, I'm not sure if we had police patrolling. I don't. Again, Clarkson's a small village community within Mississauga, but we had a good relationship, and there would have been a go-to for the special events in times of, like, Clarkson never had a so-called occupation the way they are claiming that in Ottawa. So it would be difficult. However, again, for special events, there was certainly a good liaison. There was a good interaction, and there would have been in case of an emergency or in case a situation arose. Yeah, this is who you would call. So that would have been pretty typical. And again, it depends. If you have a good working relationship with others within the community, police, fire, even within your fellow businesses, things should go fairly smoothly, and the lines of communication should typically open, and information is being shared amongst those involved.
Now, outside of events that you would be involved in, and let's say something was happening on in the streets and going on, would it be typical for a business to be contacting the BIA in order to complain about matters that the police would be involved in? We heard a lot of testimony from the BIA representatives today that they received a lot of phone calls. They were initiating a lot of phone calls. There was a lot of communication going back and forth around events, the event, and what was going on with the police. Is that typical too? So if you're not part of the event, you'll be getting phone calls from residents for vandalism or other police-related matters?
Okay, so for example, some of the things that Clarkson BIA was responsible for was changing the banners, sometimes hanging on our lamppost for seasons, flowers, believe it or not, making sure the plants and everything was being watered, issues regarding parking. So there would have been, let's say if there was an issue occurring where there was vandalism, or garbage wasn't being emptied, or the plants were being vandalized or not being watered. Yeah, typically that would be something that they would contact the BIA for, because it was coming out of our budget to maintain those items.
Well, those would be improvement items, business improvement
Yeah,
association, right? So,
association, exactly, yeah.
right. So you would think BIA kind of helps the businesses improve.
Yeah, certainly. And you're part of that community.
But being involved in that level, you would field complaints that maybe should be going to the police or other authorities?
No, I would say sometimes, like if there was an ongoing issue of vandalism, perhaps it would come to us and we would probably try and look at it to a point, and then we would pass it on to the proper authorities, which would be the police, or even sometimes the city itself, if it's something beyond something we could deal with. But it's the benefits of the BIA are the smaller communities within a larger community. It's taking care of the local businesses, and if there are some things that the business that community can no longer deal with, you go a level up. So you then go to the city, or again, particular things regarding crime. Certainly the police.
Well, it looks like you're being summoned right now, so we'll let you go about lunchtime for you. But
Yes.
any closing comments on the hearing so far, the witnesses we heard?
Well, for me, admittedly, I was listening to it off and on, but I don't know. There are some things that I kind of shook my head at, and just wondering: are they exaggerating? Are they taking on more than or presenting more than they think they should have been involved in? I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if they're going to be coming back, or is there new sets of witnesses after the lunch? Do we know?
Yeah, there's 2 witnesses from the city of Ottawa. Actually, I believe they're councillors, or let me look here. Yeah, councillors, Ward 14 and Ward 12. So we have 2 witnesses, 2 councillors coming.
So they would really be also like the level up, and we could find out what they may say that the BIA was referred to them, and then maybe then an overlap or lack of, to find out really what did the BIA, what was the role that they played, and how did they escalate it.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. Let's let you go. And I think now's a good time for everybody to take a bit of a break. I'm going to be right back as well. So, Wayne, are you going to be sticking around with us? First, I'm going to say goodbye to Chicken Lady.
No worries. Take care.
Okay,
I'm going to leave it here for a bit, and I might not be back later, but I'll be on via phone, so I'll still be listening in, but I'll be not on the computer, because I need to cut down the computer screen time because it just gives me migraines. So, but I'll definitely be online. So, yeah, it's an interesting day. Certainly far more to be heard.
Yeah. So the 2 people that are coming up after lunch, they were referred to several times in the last testimony. And in the first testimony as well, as people involved in getting the message out for the residents. If you recall, some of the testimony we heard this morning from Miss Lee, there was an offer to kind of withdraw the injunction if there was an agreement that was reached with the protesters, and there was a document that went around that was passed around by one of the councillors we're about to meet. So it should be interesting. Both sides get to talk, and we get to find out what their involvement was early in talking to the residents and their grievances and bringing them together and consolidating it and then helping them move forward with it. So we should really get a good idea this afternoon, at least on the city's level, how much grievances they were dealing with and what kind they were dealing with. But we heard a lot this morning from residents and businesses, and I am empathetic to them. But we also had some contradictions again. We had closed businesses that were open with too many people. Staff shortages was a problem, not necessarily the people. Staff shortages at that time were caused by vaccine requirements, vaccine passport requirements, mask requirements. There was a whole bunch of requirements going around that limited staff. But yeah, we had a lot of that testimony this morning. So it's pretty interesting to hear that side.
I mean, there's previous shops that were allowed to open, but because they were probably served more protesters, they were more on the side of the people rather than enforcement. And of course, when there was one particular, I remember seeing a video of, and the police were banging on the door telling the proprietor to open up, let them in, and he refused because he knew as soon as they did, he'd be in trouble, he'd be arrested, purely because he was pro-protester. So,
yeah. So that one you're referring to, that's a well-known cafe. I don't remember the name of it right now, but they did stay open when they were asked or told by the police to close down. And then they came back and wanted to give them a fine for disobeying the closing down requirements. And they also wanted to do an inspection on a Saturday of the facilities for health and safety reasons. So it was a bit of a harassment if you look into it. That cafe ended up being evicted by their landlord after that,
Oh, wow.
and are out of business. But they were doing well, and while they were open, this video of them explaining how all people were coming, protesters, anybody that wanted to were welcome, and they were treated well, and they had no problems. Oh, I think we have the name. The Iconic Cafe. Yeah. And that was a sad story because they seemed like very decent people. They weren't locking their door to anybody. They were welcoming to everybody. And because of the time, yeah, and the months leading up to the protest was bad. Before the protest got there, shops were closed, people were locked down, and there was very little, well, there's no tourism going on in Ottawa. So the relief from the protesters was welcomed by this cafe. So unfortunately, they're not there anymore. So I'm going to ask all my viewers, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a quick break. I had an early start. I'm going to go and have a little bit of food, and I'll be back about 15 minutes. So if you're going to stick around and you want to hear me chatter, I'll be back for that. Otherwise, the hearing will start again in 40 minutes. I'll put up a little banner here to remind you. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Take care, then. I'll see you soon.
Take care, Wayne. And if you're still here, I'm trying to actually get another video source. I'll try and get that working too. All right. Okay, be right back. Merci beaucoup. En français. Wow. Fiery French. That was fun. Let me just. So what we saw there was somebody losing their cool, using the term microaggression multiple times, and then actually admitted to using it several times, but then refusing to define it in English. Yeah, that little encounter was interesting. I think what we're seeing there is some frustration on that particular witness, that counselor. And we saw a lot of mindset around rules, having to listen to us, allowing this whole concept of allowing the trucks in the first place would have stopped it. People are forgetting that, these are public roads, they're paid for by public people, and we're allowed to drive on them. But we'll see what comes of this. There was a lot of testimony around the hardships, the troubles. It is clearer to me that it was not just downtown. It spread around the city a little bit more. But it's also clear to me that when bylaws not responding or police is not responding, that's not necessarily the protesters' fault. Are they over responding downtown and then under responding around? And some of the testimony we heard today around the calls being routed differently. So if it was related to the truckers and the convoy, action A would happen. But if it was not related to the truckers and convoy, action B would happen. When we're talking about enforcement and laws, there should be no distinction between the two. So were they really out of resources, or were they allowing the truckers to become a real nuisance to the public, allowing the complaints to pile up by not responding to them, and then in turn creating the situation that they needed to then respond to later? That's what I got out of today. And the first initial witnesses were what you would call the government's witnesses, people who are taking it from their perspective. And I don't think it went well for the government today. I think there's a lot of contradiction, and there was some frustration and redefinition of words. The word violence got redefined multiple times to mean many different things. And big rig trucks got redefined to mean weapons. That was an interesting one to me, where just the simple fact of a truck's presence in its very nature, I believe was his wording around that it was an ominous type of situation where it was a weapon. I've never heard that before. I live in Alberta. There's trucks everywhere, and I've never had a fear of them, and I don't even know where that would come from. It sounds to me like an urbanite, somebody who loves to live in the city, is used to cars, bikes, and walking, and the odd truck behind a store delivering his goods, but not so much in front of him, because he did use words that would indicate that he has some sort of fear. Just like we heard this morning, fear of music, fear of honking, the smell of diesel triggering, and now the fear of the sight of a large vehicle or truck. I guess what I can say to Councillor Fleury is, don't go to an airport. There's bigger vehicles there. Don't go to a shipyard, much bigger vehicles there. You'll be very scared. Well, thank you everybody for joining me. What I'm going to do is I'll do my best to get everything ready for Monday. I believe it's going to start again at 9:30 Eastern. So I'll start the stream at 9 o'clock Eastern. And I do have to sign off because I have a 10-hour limit and we're at 9 hours and 45 minutes. To anybody who joined us from Facebook, I'm sorry, I was not aware that Facebook has an 8-hour limit. So at the 8-hour mark, Facebook cut it off, and it appears that LinkedIn got cut off at 2 hours. So I'll make arrangements, and I'll direct everybody to Rumble or YouTube for the next video. But thank you everybody for joining me. Give me a thumbs, a like, go ahead and subscribe, all that YouTube stuff that helps the algorithm. And I'll look forward to seeing you all on Monday. Have yourself a great weekend. God bless and take care.
And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe and press that notification button to receive more information like this. You can also follow me at yellowhead.vote to stay informed and get the inside scoop. Thank you.